This is where we start. So we are Sport Auckland. Hi, I should introduce myself. I'm Sam from Sport Auckland. Some of you might have met me before. If you have not, hi. And we have a very lovely co-host, Priska Peters. Priska, if you could give us a wave, please, for people to know you. So she is our subject matter expert for today, but I'll just open us up with a brief background. So how this idea came to me was we do some work in the Rangatahi space, a lot of work actually. And I've been analyzing the voice of Rangatahi data. So just in Central and East Auckland, about 3,300 students from secondary schools filled out this survey from Sport New Zealand. And these are the barriers that we found, and this is only reflective of Central and East Auckland, but I reckon it probably is similar across the country. What I was really surprised by is if you look at the bottom five, I don't have the equipment, my family can't afford it, no facilities. These are the things that we generally feel stop people from doing sport or other forms of recreation. Um, Whereas if you look at the top ones, it's hard to motivate myself. I prefer to do other things. I'm not confident enough. I have no one to. I don't like people seeing me. I don't want to fail. I don't feel welcome. So just on an overarching sort of pattern is feeling welcome, feeling valued. That's just mental and emotional well-being seems to be really high on the list of barriers for Rangatahi to be active physically. So that's where I met Priska, and Priska has been doing some awesome work. Her organization, Itu Tangata, I'll leave her to introduce herself, but she's been doing some very good work in this space. And I felt like this conversation should be had with her, with all of you. So at this stage, I'll not hold Priska up anymore. Priska, over to you. And again, a reminder, at any stage, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat box. I will be keeping an eye, and there'll be intervals where we will ask for questions. So we can ask then. Over to you, Priska.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me. It is great to be here. I absolutely love talking about Itu Tangata. I absolutely love sharing our resources with coaches because I think it's some awesome stuff, and hopefully this is valuable. If you do feel comfortable, it'd be awesome to have your camera on. Helps a little bit with presenting, not seeing blank screens, but if you don't feel comfortable because it's been recorded, that's totally fine. You can leave it off. And like Sam said, please ask questions at any point in time. I'm totally okay with you unmuting and just asking a question or chucking it in the chat bar, and I will do what I can to answer that. But yeah, like Sam said, my name is Priska, and I'm the sports educator for Itu Tangata. Itu Tangata means stand together, and as an organization, as a we are trying to tackle this idea of tall poppy syndrome in New Zealand, this idea of somehow your success is a threat to my success, this culture of calling someone a try-hard when they try hard, and that being an insult. Honestly perplexes me that is something that is seen as a negative connotation. But I have this quick video that I'll play that explains this again in a little bit of a better way.
Okay, so imagine you have a bucket and you fill this bucket with a bunch of crabs. Now, left to themselves, any of these crabs could easily climb out of the bucket if they wanted to. But for some reason, crabs won't let each other escape. Make a pass for freedom, and the other crabs will wrestle the escapee back down into the bucket. Try it once too often, and the mob will break your leg. Sounds sinister? Well, it's not too different from humans. Work hard, rise above the crowd, and you might just find you get pulled back down into the bucket. Try to follow a dream, attempt something audacious, or make a break for freedom, and you risk trampled ambitions, ridicule, or even the words, "you can't." So don't be a crab. Itu tangata, stand together, and then we can all get out of the bucket.
Yeah, so that video, it's a little bit of a fun cartoon, but also I love it because I think that in a video form, it highlights something that is so apparent to our culture that we're seeing in New Zealand, where, yeah, people try to succeed or try hard or something like that, and we've taken it as our responsibility to keep them humble. But the question that we're asking is, have we taken that too far? Another insect analogy that we love to use is if you put fleas in a jar and you put the lid on the jar, fleas can jump up to like 9 inches, but if you put a lid on the jar, it'll try and get out of the jar so many times, and it'll keep hitting the lid, and it'll get to a point where it will believe that it can no longer get out of the jar. So then you take the lid off and the flea won't get out of the jar. And it's that same thing that we've almost decided what our line of success is, and we've kind of put a lid on the jar. Or going back again to this idea of a try hard. I'm from Canterbury originally, just moved up to Auckland this year, so it's been an awesome year of rain. But when I fly back to Canterbury, I want the pilot to try hard. I want the pilot to do the best he can to get me home safely. I don't want him to be like, oh no, whatever, I won't try that hard. And so we're trying to shift the culture where we have one in which people are able to succeed, where there's enough room for everyone to succeed, where we're not tearing one another down, where we're able to say what our dreams are and strive for our dreams. And a bit of background as to where we got here. Actually, I'll pause here, introduce myself because it's part of the background, but like Sam said, my name's Priska. I've been working within the youth work space for the last 8 years and done a lot of study around communities and cultures and how communities form, but also how cultures form, and then been doing youth work alongside that, as well as sport coaching for the last like 10 years or so. But within that, me and my boss who founded this, we were posed a question a few years ago, and someone said to us, "What are you doing in New Zealand?" We said, "What do you mean?" They said, you live in this beautiful country, you live on this beautiful island that everyone wants to live on, you're isolated from all of these problems that we've got in Europe and problems that we've got in UK, but yet you've got this mental health crisis going on. What are you guys doing? And that stumped us, and we were quite taken aback by that, and we're like, flip, what are we doing? And we kind of describe it with this imagery of a tree, and the branches of the tree is kind of the reality of what we're seeing in New Zealand. And what we're doing is we're chucking everything at this tree. We're doing awesome mahi. We've got Pink Shirt Day. We've got Mike King doing I'm Hope. We've got awesome people doing awesome stuff, but the reality is that our stats aren't changing. And so we're not going to see a change in our reality until we see a change in our belief system, until we see a change in our root system. And through a lot of research that we've done around risk and protective factors, we believe that one of these big roots is this idea of tall poppy syndrome. It's this idea that my success is somehow a threat to your success. It's this idea that there's not enough room for everyone to succeed. It's this idea that if you try too hard, you'll get pulled down. And so that is what we're trying to tackle. We also use this imagery going back to this, an elephant, this culture that is kind of growing is this elephant in the room, if you will. And rather than trying to clean up the mess around that, you can see this elephant's creating the room, rather than trying to clean up the mess around, which a lot of our mahi is currently doing. We're trying to pick up the pieces of well-being. Why don't we try get rid of the elephant instead of trying to pick up the pieces? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get rid of this elephant in New Zealand. We're trying to name it, shame it, and kill it. And the way that we're trying to do that is through a conversational tool. So we are trying to shift culture through a shift of mindset using language. And so our kaupapa is essentially 3 key statements, which we call strands. And so our first strand is you have value. And this simply talks about how you all have value simply because you do. And whether you achieve something amazing or you don't achieve something amazing, whatever that even means or looks like, you have value and that can't be taken away from you. You're a human being. When we run this with our young people, I've left my wallet in the car, but I use a $20 note and I say, how much is this $20 note worth? It's worth $20. And then I stand on it and I spit on it and I cut it in half and sellotape it and keep asking them, what is this worth? What is this worth? What is this worth? And by the end of it, they're unsure. They're like, well, you've cut it in half and sellotaped it. Surely it's not worth $20 now. Surely it's worth 10. That's what they all say. But it's still worth $20. I'm like, I can still take this to Macca's and get 20 frozen Cokes. But it's that idea that no matter what happens to us, we still have value because we're a human being. The second conversation is we succeed together. And this looks at the fact that there's enough room for all of us to succeed, but also one tide lifts all boats. So how can we all work together for the greater success? I was talking to someone a few weeks ago who just started fire basketball in Tauranga. So they have a women's and a men's team in the New Zealand National Basketball League. And he was talking about how with the women's league, it's so new that all of the regions have to work together if they actually want to have a national basketball league pathway for our female basketball athletes. But at the same time, when the league starts, he wants to win. He wants to beat the other regions because it's a national basketball league, but they have to work together so that there will actually be something for female basketball pathway. And it's that idea of how can we actually do win-win and collaborate better so that the greater good wins? And also trying to rephrase the question of what does success actually look like? Because if success only looks like winning, then failing only looks like losing. Or if success only looks like making a team, then failing only looks like not making the team. But actually, what if success would have looked like giving it your best shot, and then failing looks like not trying rather than not giving it a go? So how can we be redefining success in our settings? And the last question is others matter. And so this is just flowing back from you have value. I guess if I know that I have value, then I know that you have value as well. And so how are we raising our rangatahi to have an awareness of others? How are we raising our young people to look beyond themselves and understand that the umpires and the refs and the coaches and the managers and their parents and the opposition are all people that matter and all people that have value? And so, yes, it's all good and well to get competitive, but how are we treating them after the game or that kind of stuff? And so, in essence, this is our kaupapa. And so Etu Tangata is an initiative that is focused on turning around this culture of criticism that we have in New Zealand. And we empower people to build a culture where everyone is valued. And at essence, that is who we are. And we're trying to do that through a shared language. We're trying to do that through a mindset shift. And so these 3 conversations or these 3 strands at a heartbeat are what we're trying to achieve across the sporting sector, across the education sector, across the business sector, you name it. And we're hopefully going to be working in that space sometime soon if we're not yet. So on that note, this is just going back to the elephant. How are we trying to get rid of the elephant through these questions? We empower people to build a culture where every person is valued. And we're going to do that through knowing our value, through succeeding together, and through raising our rangatahi to believe that others matter. On that note, I will play a video. We've been lucky enough to work with a lot of different sports clubs and schools, particularly in Canterbury, because we've just done a pilot for 2 years and now we've come out of that. But part of that pilot, we were able to work with the Silver Ferns and the New Zealand men's netball team, which was really awesome. And so this next video is just a bit of an impact story, if you will, about how this kaupapa has helped in the New Zealand men's netball team.
I think men's netball's been polarised quite a bit over the years, and I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to change both internally and change people's thoughts externally as well.
Playing men's netball and not having anyone else around me that's doing the same thing, it was quite hard to believe in myself because there were so many, negative comments coming from the sideline. So hearing this kaupapa coming into play, giving support to everyone was very special to me.
Well, actually, it suits us as a team because it encourages us to focus on these 3 values, which actually contribute to our team culture in a way that we probably didn't anticipate. It's simple things, where we would usually mock each other. We're all looking at each other like, that's not very e2 tangata, is it? While we were wearing this t-shirt, you know what I mean? And so it's just changing the rhetoric, it's forcing us to think, we'll be conscious about what we are saying and how we should always be encouraging each other and pumping each other up.
Hello, folks. You're going through Dave, Cam, Josh.
Yeah, I think that the others matter. For us, we wanted it to loop back around. Doesn't matter if you're a youngie or a newbie in this team or whether you've been in this team for a long time, that everyone owns an equal percentage of this team. So we've just tried to loop it in our own way.
You know what I mean? Like everyone plays a part. And it's just making sure people understand what part they actually have. I like to look at it that it's a miracle that you're here. There's no one else in this world like you or like me, you know what I mean? So I want people to appreciate themselves in that. And that's what the team is trying to support and get them to think about too at the same time.